What's going on, guys? This is Tech Habit Weekly, episode 25 for May 14th, 2014. And today we were going with kind of the shorter format. We mentioned in the last part of last week's episode that we're going to try a little bit shorter of a format, not quite as many stories, focus a little bit more on each. We're not so scatterbrained throughout the show. So here we have about 5 stories today, ranging from the Beats and Apple, or the Beats acquisition by Apple, the supposed acquisition. We have some iPhone 6 rumors going about. And so with that said, Dante, let's just go ahead and kick it off with our first story about Apple buying Beats for a whopping $3.2 billion.
Well, this particular article has come about. It's huge news. It's been all over social media and even local news and everything. And as of right now, it hasn't been completely confirmed, but the details are that Apple has trying to be an acquisition of Beats Audio, and that's the whole Beats brand. They were trying to just basically take over it and buy it for, like you said, $3.2 billion. Now, this is huge. I mean, this is one of the, if not biggest acquisitions, that I have ever heard of from just one company, just saying, hey, I want this, and here's the deal right here. Now, I don't know if that deal is going to deal with any, stocks or anything like that per se. But one question I have, Bob, is what does Apple, if the, acquisition is true and completely confirmed, what do you think Apple plans on doing with Beats?
Well, see, I don't think that they're going to start making like Apple branded headphones or anything. Like, we're not going to see, like a Beats by Dre, studio headset with an Apple logo on it or anything. I think what they're really going to focus on is more of like an internal chipset for the iPhone or the iPad. Because I mean, even phones like the M8 that just came out, I don't think it has Beats audio, but something that everyone says about it is that the audio is just superb. And on my iPhone, the audio could be a little bit better. So maybe we'll have some special speakers on the phone made by this company, or maybe like an actual chipset within the phone that controls all the system's audio, something like that. So once again, I don't think we're going to see like a full-on headset, but that's just me. Dante, do you agree, or do you think maybe we'll see something like that?
I actually completely agree. I mean, some people in my workplace were asking the same question. They were like, so what's going to happen? It's going to look the same, but just have a big old glowing Apple on it? And I'm like, that would be awesome. I was like, wait a minute, this is Apple. I said, more likely not. I was like, they'll have it probably in branding. I said, and more likely, if they do keep it, they'll probably just keep the name too, because you want to alienate yourself with basically looking like you're coming up with a premium, headphone line primarily, and just slapping your sticker on it. I mean, that doesn't look good, because number one, Apple doesn't really have headphones that are in that premium market like these oversized overhead headphones. Now, like you said, I don't know what's going to happen as far as with maybe Beats Music and different things with like the entire acquisition. I don't know exactly what's going to happen with that, but it's been reported that hip hop producer Dr. Dre and Jimmy Levine is one of the other owners of Beats, that Dr. Dre will actually, if this acquisition goes through, be able to pocket $1 billion of the $3.2 billion. Now, after taxes and everything, it doesn't quite come out to about $1 billion. It's about 800 million. But I think it's a little bit of chump change, that you can have sticking around your pocket. Go see a couple Miley Cyrus concerts or two. And matter of fact, congratulations, Bob, on recently going to your first Miley Cyrus concert. I heard it was an absolute success. But back to the story.
I just told you it was my first concert. I didn't want to make you mad. It's really my, third or fourth. I just haven't invited you, so.
All right. Well, I've got backstage passes. Anywho, but like back to the story, Bob, though. With everything, Beats does, they compete with iTunes, so, I don't know if they were looking at this and we're like, wait a minute, that is huge competition right there. And, it's just like the old saying, if you can't beat them, join them. So, or buy them out. That's a new Apple slogan. Check it out on apple.com. Oh, yeah. But when you do this and put everything together, I think this is actually going to be pretty good for Apple. I'm not sure what they will do yet, but I think whatever they do with it, it'll probably be a good deal. So I don't know about you, but I think it'll actually work out pretty well.
Yeah, I think it'll definitely work out for Apple. One thing that I'm curious about, though, is kind of like you were saying, maybe they saw that, Beats released their own kind of a music player, and then maybe they thought, wow, that's some crazy competition, and maybe that at that point they decided they wanted to buy Beats, or whether it was before that, and they're looking more, because really before the streaming service, Beats is known exclusively for their headphones and speakers. So I don't know if maybe they were thinking about this whole thing before the streaming service, and then maybe it's just a streaming service that just threw it over the edge. Say, okay, we're definitely gonna try to buy them out. But it also kind of makes you wonder too, if they are interested in a streaming service, do you think this could maybe lead to other things, like maybe Apple trying to buy Spotify or a similar service like that to reduce iTunes competition?
Well, why definitely. I mean, definitely with just since Apple has even come out with the iTunes Store, there's been heavy criticism and competition coming from other developers, and of course, being able to eliminate the threat as best as possible by having a better brand. That way, people have your brand instead of theirs would definitely be the best formula. But you also have to look out for the innovation of these companies that are coming up, like Beats Music. But Beats Music, as of right now, only has around 100,000 subscribers or something like that. And so I don't think that's a huge threat exactly, because I'm sure the numbers of Spotify and RDO and things like that have a lot more numbers. I think those different companies are the ones that they want to target. But like I was saying before, Apple is, I believe, trying to go after that popular brand, because the Beats brand itself, even though there's probably people who never heard two pair of premium headphones in their life, but they bought Beats first. And it's one of those things that I was talking to a friend of mine. He was thinking that Apple may have bought this at the wrong time, because it kind of seems like Beats are kind of taking a down slope. It's not, I don't see as many commercials. You just see their little red pill, speakers and things like that. They got some peripherals and things out as well. And I think that's all great, but I feel like the popularity of Beats have been definitely going down over recent years anyway. So I'm not quite sure what's going to happen. We'll definitely see here in the upcoming months and see if there will be an officially confirmed, statement by Apple saying that this acquisition went through.
Yeah, like you say, I do think that it'll help Apple. It's hard to say how much, because like you say, I agree that Beats has kind of been on the downslope lately. I mean, you don't hear as much about them as you used to. And if you go online and you go on the YouTube comments or on any video about like headphones or any kind of like a review or anything, there's at least one person making fun of Beats by Dre headphones, even if that's not what the video is about. People, I mean, bash Beats all the time. There's people that love them, but there's a lot of people also that hate them and just think that they're absolute garbage. So I don't know if Apple's worried about the kind of image that like a Beats merger would give them or their products. I mean, if you have a lot of people that hate Beats, it makes you kind of wonder if if they all of a sudden have Beats audio in their iPhone, that they're not going to say, okay, well, I don't want that phone if the audio is bad. And I don't know. It's really hard to say exactly how this is going to affect Apple. Honestly, I don't think Beats has a whole lot that Apple doesn't already. The whole streaming service, I can't imagine they have any songs that Apple doesn't already have in iTunes. And if Apple's not going to actually start producing these headphones rather than just having chips and speakers and stuff in the phone, then I don't really see all that much else that they benefit. But like we were kind of talking about, I think it might just be a way that Apple's kind of reducing the amount of competition they have out there. So hey, that's 100,000 more subscribers that we could have. I mean, it's not huge by our numbers, but it just kind of helps get down on competition. So with that said, I guess that's pretty much all we have to talk about this story. I mean, it's an interesting story. It's not confirmed. There was a video that was supposedly a confirmation by Dr. Dre, by the company, on, I think, their Facebook page, if I'm not mistaken. But that has actually been taken down. And so, it was a video by Tyrese Gibson. But that video has been taken down, and this has not yet been confirmed by Apple. So this isn't an absolute, go green light sort of a merger or an acquisition or anything. But it definitely seems pretty certain while not being absolute certain. So tell us what you think about this. If Apple did just end up buying Beats overnight, and all of a sudden in the iPhone 6, you see that you have, audio Beats by Dre, although Apple would never put that on their phone. They would just advertise it. But would this give you more of an incentive to buy the iPhone 6 if it had a whole new audio, speaker chipset inside of it? Or is it really not a big deal to you? Or would it even drive you away from Apple products in general? Also, maybe what products would this be coming to next? I mean, some of the Macs have built-in speakers. Do you want to see Beats audio in your iMac? Whatever it is, be sure to let us know. Then we're going to move on to our next story about AT&T trying to buy DirectTV for a whopping $50 billion, just when we thought $3.2 billion from the last story was a lot. Dontae, why exactly would AT&T want to buy DirectTV?
Well, definitely, AT&T is one of those companies that have been around for a long time, and we can talk about AT&T in so many different formats and platforms, just as fact like the lease lines that internet service providers have and things like that. So they have a lot of money, more than myself, which I know is hard to believe. But with this particular acquisition that AT&T is trying to get with DirectTV, to me, it's one of their biggest competitions is having the whole Time Warner cable and Comcast merger. If you want to do something like this, like we were saying with the whole Apple Beats and merger and everything, it's destroy the competition. Basically, you've got one service provider here that's competing with each other. AT&T service, like myself, I have UVerse AT&T service, but I used to be a DirectTV subscriber. Now they are conflicting service providers in cable and or satellite, and why not take all those subscribers over here and merge them together to take out the bigger competition, which would be the Comcast and Time Warner Cable. Now, $50 billion, they're going to be trying to do, pay for this with both cash and stocks, essentially. And being able to have that in one platform might be great, but think about some of the things that satellite television is actually good for. Satellite television is actually very good for people that live in rural areas that don't have like a direct ISP or a cable service provider in that area. That way you're still able to get your service. May be more on the expensive side, but you're still able to get it. And with something like this, that would put AT&T pretty much over the top with being able to provide service to all their customers in every area. I can very well see now if this actually passes. I don't know if the FCC and everybody, that has the legislation and things to figure out if this will become a monopoly or not or something with AT&T. But if this merger actually goes through, you may very well start seeing some AT&T branded satellite dishes. Now, I don't know about you, Bob, but I think that this is actually good because I'm an AT&T subscriber with my cell phone and ISP and cable service provider. I think this would be good. What do you think?
It really kind of depends what it brings. Like I know, for example, the whole Time Warner and Comcast acquisition, that really directly affected me because my ISP is Time Warner. And one thing that I'm really worried about here in the coming months, or maybe even years, or however long, is that currently I don't have any kind of a bandwidth cap or anything like that, whereas Comcast does. So by Comcast buying Time Warner, I'm probably going to end up absorbing those kinds of things, like that bandwidth cap, which 300 gigs a month would probably kill me because I tend to use about double that a month, and so I would really not be happy about that. But Dante, is there anything like that? Like, because you said that you currently subscribe to AT&T, is there anything like terms like that you think would kind of conflict? Like, if AT&T were to buy DirectTV, is there anything that would tarnish it? Like you say, it's overall a good thing, but is there anything that you kind of see maybe coming that you don't want to see?
Well, I mean, maybe there'll be some sort of a feature to where maybe everyone has to maybe go to like one particular format. That way it's kind of universal instead of, like I said, right now I currently have AT&T UVerse. So I don't have like a satellite dish or anything like that. It basically looks like regular cable, I guess, but the infrastructure is actually a little different with the cable box. I actually have a wireless receiver in one of my rooms that works very well over our access point that's actually upstairs. Now, with that, I think some of the problems may come into those people in those rural areas. I mean, just taking the existing satellite and slapping a new logo on it, I guess that fixes it. But like you said, with the whole data caps and things like that, I'm not quite sure about that because I don't know about the internet packages that DirectTV actually offers, and it's something that they don't offer like really. I'm trying to lack of better words, like to a more consumer base. That's more almost like an enterprise type thing. And the reason why I'm saying that is because of the price. You can find commercials out there that advertise that DirectTV or satellite internet, like I believe HughesNet or something, if it's even still around, has some sort of satellite internet service provider, but they never really say how much it is. They're always like, well, if you call right now, you can get $300 off. I'm like, $300 off? How much is the service? Yeah. So that's some of those things in information that I don't exactly know. But for a person like yourself, I can definitely see that being a problem. Like you said, you don't have any bandwidth caps or throttling per se that you are aware of, and having a merger like this and being able to foot the bill and make it work for them, I could definitely see throttling and data caps be one of those things where they will give you a certain amount of gigabytes that you can download per month. And if you go past that, it throttles your speed down. Say if you maybe have a 18 meg down, you might only be guaranteed to maybe get 6 or something after going over your limit until your billing cycle flips over or something, which could definitely be a problem.
Yeah, so we'll have to see, what this ends up bringing, what the fine print actually ends up being. On the surface, though, I agree that it does provide some good things. It doesn't necessarily affect me because at the moment I'm currently I'm not a DirectTV subscriber or an AT&T subscriber, so this isn't really a story that absolutely directly affects me. But in the future, I mean, if this whole thing does end up happening, then this could probably be kind of a competitor to the whole Time Warner and Comcast sort of a deal too. So it's really hard to say. Maybe I'll end up switching to this. Maybe this will end up being a bandwidth cap free solution to my current situation that I think I'll be in a couple months with the whole Time Warner and Comcast thing. So it's really hard to say. But be sure to tell us what you think down below in the comments. If you think that this acquisition would be a good thing. It seems that there's a lot of acquisitions that we have Beats Audio and now this. But is this something that would directly affect you? And if it is, are you excited for it? Is it something that would cause you to just switch right away or whatever the case? Be sure to let us know right down below in the comments. Moving on to the next story here, Apple is planning to add split screen multitasking on the iPad in iOS 8. Now I'm just going to pause for just a second. Let's have a moment of silence. It's about time. This is something that is just... It's a long time coming, and I really hope the story is true. Dante, is this such a big deal for you as it is for me?
I would have to say yes, because my iPad mini, sometimes you just look at things, and only because it's in a landscape environment 90% of the time for me anyway, you want to be able to do certain things at the same time. I was talking to our producer, Terrell, and he made a very good point. He said he would like to be able to maybe keep his Twitter client open while doing some other tasks, that way he can tweet and do different things at the same time. And I actually do like iOS's multitasking, feature, but being able to put it side by side, even if it doesn't take exactly half your screen, but maybe just a little less, would actually be very beneficial to a person like myself who's always, on the go and doing multiple things at the same time. Now, we actually do have a video to show you guys that'll actually see some of a mock-up of how the split screen multitasking would actually work in iOS 8 when it actually comes out. It's just a mock-up, so it's not confirmed. It's just something that it's just a concept video. We'll show you that here in just a second.
Yeah, so I mean, it's definitely something that, once again, it's just a long time coming, and it's something that Windows 8 already has. Windows 8.1, I think it was just in raw Windows 8 too. I could be mistaken, but it's something that when I see a Microsoft commercial, I'm like, that is so neat. It's like you say, how you can. I think they even let you resize the windows. So if you have a square, say the size of this frame, it doesn't have to be a 50-50 split. You can have. It's kind of like how I have on one of my monitors. On my leftmost monitor, I always have a little Twitter window and then a Safari window. So I always just have those two things. And it's a nice split. It's not a 50-50 split because Twitter doesn't need half my screen. Right. But just 10-20% of it at most. And I think that'd be awesome. I would always have a Twitter client open, and if that was the case. And I'm absolutely like you. My iPad is 95% of the time, landscape, not portrait. So I think it would work really well. And if Microsoft can implement it, then Apple absolutely can. I mean, iOS tends to just be a bit smoother. I don't really know. Do they have this feature on Android at all? I don't think so.
That I know of, I am not 100% sure. Only because. Okay, we're just getting some information here. Samsung Galaxy, was it Galaxy Tab? All their tablets. Okay, so sorry. All the Samsung line of tablets actually do have a feature similar to this one. But okay. I did like that in our video that was just shown there that you saw basically what you were saying, that the window doesn't have to be 50-50 split. They were actually resizing the window with a bar in the middle. Now, guys, just understand that this is a concept as of right now. And, if they adapt this, that would make this person very happy. I mean, be able to do that. Now, here's a question, Bob. Do you think this feature will only be, on an iPad, or will you be able to do this with, say, your iPhone?
That's definitely interesting because we have rumors of a larger screen iPhone coming. I mean, if I have just a little 4-inch iPhone, I mean, if I split an app 50-50, there's not much room. I mean, it's like we're talking a little bit more than my thumb for each window, which depending on the app maybe could work. But if we have a screen that's almost an inch entirely bigger than this, then that opens up a lot more room to have two apps on the screen at once. So I think that if Apple, and we'll get to this in a later story, but if Apple plans on increasing the size and therefore the screen resolution, then I think this is definitely something that they would bring to the phone. Once again, not all apps would work right with it, and maybe that's what they'd probably be holding back on, is that, I mean, a lot of mobile apps aren't really made for that. But then again, maybe some app developers will, code that into their new application to make that so, if you are in a split screen mode, then they'll reformat the entire application to fit it and actually maybe make it usable and look nice. It's hard to say, but I'm willing to say that, I'll bet a dollar or two on it, that if the screen size and the resolution do increase in the iPhone 6, then I think if this feature is being planned for the iPad, then they'll probably also include it for the iPhone too, because even if a lot of people don't use it, the few people that do would really enjoy it. A perfect example of that on another Apple product is Mavericks and the whole Launchpad feature. Me personally, I never use it, but then again, it's not in the way if I don't use it. It's something there that, maybe 5 people out of 100 will actually use, but those 5 people will actually really appreciate it because it'll make their life a little bit easier. I think that might be what this is on a screen as small as something like this. And also you have to think that if they do make it for the iPhone 6 and maybe, iOS 8, it makes you wonder, are they going to release it for the smaller version as well, or is that going to be, an iOS 6 only and beyond feature only, like not backwards compatible like some features are today? So Dante, what do you think? Would you use a split screen feature on a phone this size, or and maybe on a 4.7-inch size?
I honestly, I would if it was more customizable as far as how it splits. And what I'm saying is, say if I'm playing a game, say like Asphalt 8, which is a race car game, actually very high end graphics, racing game for iOS. And what if I wanted to maybe keep my Twitter client maybe just at the top at all times to be able to just see it, flip and new tweets and things come across, but I'm still playing the game. That wouldn't be bad because I'm not split, even though it's in landscape, I'm not splitting it right down the middle, but maybe I reformat it and put it at the top of the screen, and that way I just got the bottom half of the screen that I'm playing the game in. I think that would be actually nice. Now, as far as seeing this feature on the iPad, I mean, of course, that looks great. And also people who are currently jailbroken with an iPad on iOS 7 can actually download a jailbroken tweak through Cydia called OS Experience that you can actually see how this feature actually runs. So I don't know if there's some people out there that have jailbroken iPads running iOS 7, but if you do, check it out through Cydia if you are jailbroken, called OS Experience, and try it out, and leave us a comment below if you have used it and if you liked it. I'm actually too far updated to use it, but you leave us a comment below to let us know, exactly how it, looks and how it feels.
Yeah, another thing I'm interested about too is how it would affect battery life. I mean, in something like the iPad, I would think that a jailbreak tweak does exist for that, but the iPad is like 90% battery, whereas this doesn't have nearly the battery life of something like an iPad. So if you're displaying 2 apps at the same time and they're both updating in real time, that's got to be a drain on the battery.
Exactly.
And so it makes me wonder, I mean, when assuming Apple is coming out with a 4.7-inch phone, how much, because the logic board I wouldn't think would have to be all that much bigger, which leaves them a lot more room for a battery. But do you think maybe that having that increased battery would be, kind of what they're waiting on for a feature like this?
That may be actually correct because, using rechargeable lithium-ion batteries is just a way of the future. It's never going to go away, and they're only actually getting better because there's different ways of even wirelessly charge things and whatnot. Your charge is it's always at 100%. It always dissipates. That's just the act of a battery. And one of the key features that iOS and has always had with their apps is being able to pause apps. When things are going and you have this app open, it pauses it, but can still have background refreshing at the same time, which in turn saves battery life. But on an Android platform, their apps are always running. So if you played a game, open up Twitter, open up Facebook, open up Chrome or whatever, and you've got all this stuff going on at the same time, your battery life is definitely going to take a hit because it's trying to support all these different running applications, just like if you were doing these things like, say, on a laptop or something like that. If you got all these different things running, you're going to definitely see a hit if you got Final Cut Pro open or some very high-end game or something and trying to do some multiple things at once. So definitely that's going to be something that's going to be tested in between, to see if that would actually, take a hit on the battery. But like you said, with the whole logic board and how much space they're going to have in between the phone, and like you were basically saying about the iPad is pretty much all battery. When you actually take it out and look at it in an exploded view. So we'll definitely have to see what happens with that, if they can get a more powerful battery to, help with that. The iPad I'm not worried about. It's the smaller platforms, like you were saying, if they brought that to the actual phones.
Yep, the only worry there is that the bigger screen could probably cause some pretty dramatic increase in battery consumption. So Well, I guess we'll just have to see. What do you guys think about multitasking on the iPad? Is this something that you're as excited about as I am? Because that would bring new life to my iPad. I'd use it a whole lot more. And so, I mean, being restricted to one application isn't fun. So I like having even just a Twitter feed. It's a really nice thing to have on a device. And so, absolutely would make me use it more. So be sure to let us know what you guys think down below in the comments if you're in the same boat as well. Jumping into our next story here, we're going to take you guys across the pond, across the globe, over to Japan. We're going to talk about some 3D printing, and also, and related with that, there's a gun arrest. Now, those three things don't commonly go together in a story, but that's what we do here on Tech Happy Weekly. So, Dante, go ahead and tell us what this whole crazy story is about.
Well, this is an international story covering the land of the rising sun. Now, this particular story here has a story about a 27-year-old man named Yoshitomo Imura. I'll tell you. And he's a college student over in Japan. And this is the first arrest made with a 3D printed gun. Now, basically, we know how popular these 3D printers are. They can make amazing things. Car manufacturers, a lot of different people are actually upset with 3D printing because they're going to start thinking that people can start making their own replacement parts. Well, there's been a lot of different artists and a lot of different things printed that have looked absolutely amazing. I've seen 3D models of the Empire State Building and the Eiffel Tower, things like that, and they look very, very nice. But of course, with this, you're going to have ideas of people making weapons, and this is the case here with Imura over in Japan. Now, basically, it's he was caught with these firearms in his home, and it says the internet was showing him shooting the guns, which initiated the police investigation over there in Japan. Now, in Japan, it's actually illegal to really have firearms in that quantity. They said they found a few firearms, and they basically just weren't sure what he was going to do with these things. So subsequently, they charged him, and they didn't want him to go to airports or anything like that that could lead in hijackings and just things like that. There's a lot of different problems that you could actually have with having 3D printed weapons. Now, Bob, if you wanted to definitely take out somebody in the tech community you just could not stand, would you make a 3D printed gun and use it on them, shooting those plastic 3D printed bullets?
Well, it'd be fun to make a little gun and set up a little target or something in my house. Maybe with a picture of Miley Cyrus haters. There we go. I'll defend mine. Yeah. So, I mean, I could definitely see why someone would want to do this. Even just a little BB gun or something. It's definitely a cool concept, but of course you're going to have the people that take it to the extreme. That whole concept is humanity in a few words. I mean, there's always something great that someone just takes too far and all of a sudden it's just gone forever because of the potential that someone could misuse it. That's happened way too commonly over at least the course of my lifetime. So, I mean, this story, there's really no difference there. This is definitely interesting, being that it's the first, crime, I guess massive crime that the whole world's heard about that's related to a 3D printer. But then again, it does also show the power of 3D printing. I mean, you can literally create just about anything. Now, my question to you, Dante, is do you think that this is something that, if this happens a couple more times, there's going to be talks of just absolutely banning consumer 3D printing?
Yes, I can definitely see that, only because, when you give people the power and control to make things, that basically they just have to get a blueprint or something to print something out to make a weapon. I can definitely see this happening now. Just like the case here with Imura, he had been caught downloading blueprints, of the 3D printed gun. And now when they found him, they said there wasn't any ammunition found, even though there was a video online posted that he was actually shooting the guns. And, even here in the United States, at least back in December, at least, Congress has already renewed a ban on guns that contain no metal, only because of, think about it, what most highly secure places have a what detector? Metal detector. So bringing a plastic 3D printed gun into, say, a courthouse or something, you would never know. I mean, because they don't exactly pat you down when you go in, because it's a public place, and when you go in, you can actually cause some serious bodily harm with some of these things. Now, like I said, there wasn't any ammunition found with him, but I can definitely see that, these 3D printed guns actually do work. So I don't know what kind of projectiles they could actually shoot out of these things, but I would definitely be aware of the dangers that this could happen with, especially with the U.S. Congress renewing a ban on having guns that contain no metal. So
Yeah, and it kind of makes me wonder too where the line is. I mean, if there's no metal in here, I mean, I would think the bullets themselves are probably some kind of like a plastic or something. Where in that case, I mean, it's probably just about as harmful as like a pretty high end BB gun that has really no metal in it either. A lot of those guns are total plastic.
but you have to think about this though, Bob. BB guns, even the higher powered ones, are powered by like CO2 cartridge. But as far as I know, there's a firing pin and everything, and so shooting a projectile, any projectile, at someone at that high rate of speed can definitely cause some seriously bodily harm or even death.
Yeah, definitely something to keep in mind. But yeah, I agree with you that this is the kind of stuff that could ruin 3D printing for everyone, at least in the home. It probably might get even to a point where there's only one 3D printer in a city, and you have to pay to go to use it. And there's a big waiting line that's supervised and stuff.
Or they make it for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
One of those things. It's okay, we'll give us the the schematics for it or whatever kind of file it needs, and we'll mail it to you. How about that? So I mean, that's something I could see happening, but unless someone makes a 3D printer right now in a 3D printer.
The first 3D printed 3D printer.
I mean, it's a buddy of mine at work. He has a 3D printer. He actually printed a wrench. Like, it works. Like, you can spin the thing and it closes. It's like a functional wrench. It's the coolest thing. So knowing that someone could create a gun, it definitely takes it to a new level. And like I said, with that, there's always the people that take it to that next level and abuse it. That we get stories like this and fears of like this, that maybe this awesome new technology will go away sooner than it should, and at least at the consumer level, because of something like this. So with that said, tell us what you think about this down below in the comments. Do you have a 3D printer? If you do, tell us how you like it. Tell us if you would actually make like some kind of a weapon out of it, and whether even just for recreational use at a little target or something, or what other kinds of objects that you think maybe could be hazardous, or maybe even cause 3D printers to just not exist anymore in the consumer spectrum. Be sure to let us know down below in the comments. Moving on here to our last major story before our tech treats today. iPhone 6 to have a 1704 by 960 resolution. Now its current resolution is 1136 by 640.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I mean it's definitely a fair bit bigger. It's about the width of it now currently added to the top, and then another about half that, 300 or so horizontally on the horizontal axis. So that's definitely a big jump in resolution. Dante, what kinds of things do you think that will have some really like modified applications to take advantage of that space? What other kinds of things do you think that extra resolution can give us on an iPhone?
Well, definitely with iOS applications, I could see that the different I guess office applications and things like that, we're looking at it on a smaller environment, it's horrible. Like looking at spreadsheets on such a small screen, it sucks because, of course, it's a grid style. So having that much more space will actually, I believe, make it cleaner for yourself as a user of that mobile device. Now, also you have to look at it with the whole gaming aspect of it, and of course, viewing videos and things. Maybe you are a Vivo app user or something, and you like to see nice, crisp, clean videos and things like that, and having more of a, I guess, screen real estate, if you will, on your phone. Now, with this, I think it's very important to look back to 2007 when Apple first debuted the very first iPhone, and it had a resolution of 320 by 480. My God, that is crazy. And what's funny is at the time that was like revolutionary stuff. I saw that screen, it was like, this is the greatest thing ever, and you look at it now and it's hard to look at. You're like, oh, let us see. My name is Yoshitasu Imura. And basically when you're looking at something from that jump to the jump that they're claiming that it may have with the iPhone 6 of 1704 by 960 is astronomical. I don't know if that would actually classify in a different class of Retina, what that would be, like Retina Plus or Retina HD or something category. I think it would be nice that if they did come out with this resolution or something higher, or that they actually put it in a new class of Retina. That way you feel like, man, I'm getting a lot more phone, just like they did with Super AMOLED and Super AMOLED Plus in the Android architecture. Now, this is, honestly, I mean, I honestly like the size of my iPhone 5S. I mean, I'm not really a fan of like huge phones. I've had a Samsung Galaxy S before, and I just thought it was too big. It was a 5-inch phone, and I was like, man, this thing is clunky. I felt like it didn't feel right when it was on my belt clip and things like that, because it just felt huge. Now, that's one thing I hope doesn't happen, that it's so big that it becomes to the point where I'm like, well, I'll just stick with my 5S, and I don't know. What do you think, Bob? I mean, do you always feel like you're running out of screen real estate on your phone, or you need, more space to do the tasks that get you through every day?
It really depends on the app I'm using. I mean, if I'm just in Tweetbot browsing some tweets, the 4-inch screen is fine. I mean, I have no problems with it at all. Especially now on iOS that you can change the font, on like a per app basis or even system wide. It's definitely like in Tweetbot, I've actually have the font all the way down, and I can see a lot more tweets on the screen than I could with it at default. So that's nice. But in a more complicated app, especially maybe an app like a game, or if I'm watching a video or something, it would be nice to have a bit bigger of a screen. But one thing I'm curious about with the screen is that I remember back when Steve Jobs announced the whole Retina display, he said that 300 pixels per inch, or dots per inch, is the limit of the human retina. And so with that, there's this whole mathematical equation given at some distance that is it. And I'm wondering now, with all these phones that have, 400, I think there's one that's even close to like 500 pixels per inch, which is just absurd. But you're going way over what they said is retina, that your eyes can't even really make a difference out of. So it makes me wonder if back then maybe that distance is just too far away from what most people use. And so by having it closer, they have to actually increase the PPI to make it a true retina so that your eyes really can't discern it at a closer length. So I mean, maybe people are just, they're burning their retinas right out looking at their phone so much. They drastically, every year, they just get their phone a little bit closer to their face, and they have
There
to
you
keep doing
go.
that.
Actually, to add on to that, Bob, and I don't know if you guys on Tech Habit Weekly have been following our new website, and that's with myself and Terrell, and that's 1p4t.com. And on there, we actually have a section that we're testing these prototype contact lenses. I actually got 4K contact lenses underneath these glasses. You guys can't see them right now. They're in a prototype stages where we're getting them all functioned and getting them right. We have a couple developers we're going through, and we're going to get some, really high intense 4K lenses to get for you people. Now, basically that's what we're getting into, because the resolution and the pixels are getting so tight that it's like, if the eyes can't, see it, the number getting higher shouldn't really do anything for you.
What does strain battery?
Right, yeah, basically, because it takes so much to power that screen. Now, previously, there's been some leaked iPhone 6 schematics coming from Foxconn that actually showed that the display will actually retain the 16:9, aspect of it, which, further lets me know that, the screen is size, it will get bigger. I mean, they have, different things that they've been working on, because with a bigger screen, you got to think about thickness too. In the iPhone, as far as the sleek design, of it, and being as thin as it is, because I had an iPhone 4 and you put my iPhone 5S next to it, and it's like, are you serious? And it's weird that it got bigger and thinner at the same time. So that's one of the other concerns that you have to have with a bigger screen, and then like you said, with the battery life, and then also with iOS 8, iPhone 6, rumored specs on the screen, battery. I mean, these are some huge concerns that are coming out right now with these different reviews and different concepts that are coming up, because, pretty soon we're going to be, instead of a lightning connector, we're going to have lightning connector 2.0, which actually connects to your 12-volt rail or something in your house, and you just and stick it in and tell your buddy, rev the car up, I got to charge my phone, or something, because it seems like it's packing a lot of punch. But of course, technology is getting better every day with batteries and screens and different things, especially the testing of bendable LEDs and different things like that they're really thin. So we'll definitely see what happens with this. But I just hope that the size of the phone doesn't hinder them in any way, from some of the, I would say, legacy iPhone users like myself that have been used to it for such a long time, that you don't want something so absurd that you're like, I don't want to use it, because now I'm typing on something, this big, trying to, hello, how are you doing? So that's one of those things that you need to actually be careful with when doing something this size. But like you said, like I said, with the whole, PPI and everything, and after it gets so far, it's almost like, well, that's just a new number now, to your regular users.
Yeah, and there's definitely some math here to this too about this resolution. Apple tends to do things. They try to keep it like when they went from non-retina to retina, they made it just a 2x jump. They just doubled it.
Yeah.
Now what they're saying now is that there's going to be like a 3x because the original resolution tripled in both the vertical and the horizontal dimension is this number that we're reporting here, the 1704 by 960. So Apple is that kind of company that tries to keep things linear because it makes it easier for developers to scale up their applications. And
Yeah.
so I think that, I mean, if Apple is going to increase the resolution by a substantial amount, it makes sense to go with a number like this that's just nice and round like that, in respect to the original resolution that these applications were designed for. So I definitely think that there's some snowballing effect here. This rumor is just getting kind of bigger and bigger and bigger as we get closer to WWDC. And so, Dante, just really quick to kind of condense our feelings here into just one question. Do you think that with all the rumors considered, with everything we've talked about in the past couple episodes on Tech Habit Weekly, that on when WWDC rolls around, that we will see an iPhone with this resolution or a 4.7 inch screen? What do you think the odds of that are actually happening?
Man, at this point in the game, you start to look at, the annual usual, release of Apple's iPhone. I would have to give it 49%. And the only reason why I say 49% because anything can be 50-50. I just think it's a little less likely that they'll take that huge jump right now, because there's still speculations on other, accessories and other devices, surrounding WWDC and different updates to things like, say, the Mac Mini line and things like that. So we'll definitely see what happens. So, like I said, 49% likely. That's where I'm sticking.
Yeah, I mean, I think me personally, I think it's more to about like the 60 to 70% range, only because in a mobile phone, which is Apple's, I guess like their biggest cash cow now is the mobile device, the iPhone. I think that because there's so many people that want the bigger screen, they know for a fact that it's going to sell like hotcakes. That I know that there's so many people out there that the only reason they have an Android phone is because of the size of it. They like the bigger screen. Whereas you and me, we kind of like the smaller screen on the smaller side a little bit. Me personally, I think I could definitely adjust to a 4.7 inch screen. But I don't want like a crazy Note like a 5.5 or anything. I think that's just utterly ridiculous. But just because there are so many people that want the bigger screen, I think it does kind of make sense for Apple to go that route. And it's not necessarily like Apple to just give in to whatever the customer wants. That's I'm not saying that's how Apple is at all. But on such a big product that so many people are anticipating on getting, a lot of 2-year cycles are up this summer, and so I think Apple is really going to want to give all those thousands and millions of people something to kind of draw them into an iPhone for 2 more years. Because I mean, the number of switchers now are greater than ever. There's a lot of people switching both to and from iOS, and so Apple is going to want to give a KO punch and say, okay, you know what, you want the bigger screen? We have it, and also we have a clean interface. Also, we have more apps, and I think that's just another huge log that they can throw on this huge fire that they already have. So I think it's a little bit more likely than 49. I'll say 68%.
Okay. All right.
So, but that's just my idea. But be sure to tell us what you guys think down below in the comments. Do you kind of agree with me that it's a little bit more likely? Do you think that Apple's going to release this, or are you kind of on Dante's side to say, you know what, they need to improve the existing features like battery life first, then they can worry about a bigger screen and all these other features. So whichever side of the fence you're on, be sure to let us know down below in the comments. And with that, not even taking another breath, we're going to go right into our tech treats of the week. Dante, go ahead and get us started. That was awesome.
Nice. Basically, my tech treat for this week is not really a bundle, but you had mentioned a tech treat last week about games. Well, guess what? I've got a couple games for you guys here. And coming from our company at 1p4t.com, you can go to one place for Apple, and we've got various games that are on here, like Hipster Smackdown, which is actually free in the App Store. We've got Grand Theft Auto Vice City for $4.99. Jump Chump is free. Tap the Frog, and of course Grand Theft Auto San Andreas for $6.99. And it's very, very nice because there's a lot of different things that happen when you're taking your spare time, and you just got different games to play that you can just pick up and put down, and it's good stuff, and like you were saying with your tech treat last week, these are some things I actually like. And actually the port, I can speak from experience, the like Grand Theft Auto franchise being ported over to iOS looks perfect, and I have not experienced any sort of like lag or like the gameplay is not really, you know, right. But I've also been playing these on like an iPhone 5 and iPhone 5S. So yeah, these are very good games. I think, you know, just to pass the time, check them out, you know, and you can find these one place for Apple, you know, and just browse through and see what you like, and definitely check those out.
Awesome. Yeah, both me and Dante are like huge GTA fans, so
Yeah.
especially San Andreas, that'll always have like a special spot in my heart. So I
Still
haven't
play it
bought
on
it
a,
yet.
I still play it on a virtual machine to this day.
Yep, I actually have it installed on mine too, but this might just be the reason to buy it on my phone finally. So definitely a great tech treat. There are lots of cool games, especially like I said, the GTA ones. But mobile gaming nowadays, it's addictive. I mean, now I find throughout the day I always have 10 minutes here and there that I always just want to play a game. So if you're gonna buy a game, these are definitely some great games to pick from. Thank you for the tech treat, sir, and thanks for one-upping me from last week with only one game. Show off.
I'm an overachiever. What can I say?
Well, my tech treat is something a little bit different. It doesn't have anything to do with phones at all, or I guess in a weird, abstract way it could. But mine is actually the Joby Gorilla Pod. I've had mine for quite some time, and I haven't used it in a while, but I just had to use it just actually yesterday. I was recording some more brief videos on, motherboards, Hackintosh hardware videos, things like that. And what this is, it's a little tripod like this that has these little flexible arms. And this is something that I don't use on a daily basis. I mean, I have a full-size tripod, and actually, believe it or not, back in the, like my first year of college, this was like my main tripod. I kind of ghetto rigged it. I'd like stack up some boxes and throw this on top of there. But now I actually have a dedicated tripod, so I don't use this nearly as often as I used to. But what this actually allows me to do, and what it's really good for, is that I'll first show you how it works really quick. Here's my camcorder, Canon Vixia HF M400, in case you guys are wondering. Kind of an older camcorder now. I really would like to get a DSLR, but regardless, you just have a little standard-sized tripod mount that goes in the bottom of the camera, screws in like you would think, and then you simply kind of just click it into place, and just like that, your camera's secure. Very securely. I can shake it. I have no worries at all. I trust it very, very much. On the back here, we even have a nice little level. A little hard to see, but so you can know when your camera's level. It is kind of hard to tell on here, so that helps. Also, you have a little knob over here that you can very easily adjust the angle of the camera. And I'll really quick show my screen what this tripod really allows me to get. The types of shots it allows me to get are really close shots, like on motherboards and things like that, where I can literally just set this on the motherboard, tilt the camera down, and I can zoom in a little bit, and I can get a perfect view of, say, like an audio chipset or something. And me personally, I think it's just a really, really good investment. This thing only cost, I believe, $30, and Joby makes a bunch of them, so they have like the GorillaPod Hybrid. They have a whole line of them. Some are even made specifically for an iPhone or like an Android phone or something like that. So I definitely think it's worth investing if your video content involves some close-up shots like this. You can put a camera on a tripod, tilt it down, and zoom it in, but this, I think, just gives you the best shot because it gets you the closest. Therefore, you don't have to zoom as much, and your video quality actually ends up being just better. And so for the 30, I believe the prices are quite variable on the different models, but I'd say the average for one of these is like $30. And down the line, some are more expensive, some are cheaper. But if you're at all into getting YouTube content, or on things like a motherboard that have small little features that you really want to focus on, I think this is an absolute great way to go. So I don't know if you've ever used anything like that, Dante.
Yes, I have, and because of the videos that we have, on my YouTube channel, and of course at 1p4t.com, something similar to this. Now, yours is actually a lot better than mine, and that actually makes me want to be able to get that particular one, because some of the cons that I had with this one was I felt like it didn't grab on to things as well, and it's obviously not as tall as yours. So the thing that you were actually talking about, for people who don't know, and if you have like an iPhone 5 or a 5S or something, and you don't have like a dedicated DSLR or HD camcorder or something, well, these phones actually take really good video. So you could get something like this here, and I'll take my iPhone 5S and put it in here, and now I actually have a pretty nice camera. So to do maybe some beginner tutorial videos, or YouTube videos or things like that, you can just sit here and have this thing sit on your desktop and film you, and it's adjustable, and there's a lot of different phone carriers, providers that have it. What I mean by that, like Samsung, Galaxies and different phones, it'll fit like certain phones. Well, this particular one works pretty good with the iPhone 5, 5C, and 5S, and it is very, very nice and basically a similar design of what you have. And then they also, to add to your treat, have like different ones like this. This one comes from a well-known brand called Targus. Targus makes a lot of different things. Now this one is a lot smaller, but depending on what you're trying to get at, now it doesn't have a level. It's not, a lot of stuff that you have, right here. And there's a lot of different things. Like you said, I even myself have dedicated tripods, and I have one here from Targus, and this is just all on my desk, so coming from different ways to edit and different things. There's even a different one here that I have, and this is from Targus as well, that actually gets tall. Like this thing gets gigantic. Wow. Like it goes like up to 70 black stuff. Yeah, it goes up to 72 inches with this. So but the restrictions are if you're is the weight, because it's recommended to not use anything that's really over about a pound or two. So it's really good maybe for a webcam, or even taking the head off this and placing it on here. So yeah, there's a lot of different things. So like right now, here's 1, 2, 3 different ones that are just sitting, on my desk for those, video editing people. And you can get these at various prices, pretty cheap. And as far as for the quality and the different things you're getting, but definitely like you had, Bob, with a little more features with the level and tilt and different things that are on that. I like yours a lot better, and I'm probably going to be investing in that. If you are wanting to get into video editing and filming and things like that, I definitely recommend you have more than one of these. Like you said, you made a very good point as far as the close-ups. If you really want those close-up shots, you're going to need something to this extent to really get your device really close to your subject. So very, very good tech treat, Bob. I actually didn't think of doing a tech treat like that. That's what was so funny. You kind of probably heard me shuffling around here in my my top drawer to even get all this stuff out. I was like, oh man, I know what he's, I got stuff like that. But yeah, definitely good tech treat for you guys who are going to be beginners out there. So very nice.
I have to say, last week I have 1 game. Today you have 5 games. I have 1 tripod. You got like 4 tripods.
Hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's one of those things. I didn't break out the DSLR though. I kept that in the bag. This is true. Let's end this show before I'll save that for next week. So next week, Canon T4i. I'm going to show you exactly what to do with that for your YouTube videos as you are a beginner for tutorials. Anyway, but yeah, very nice tech treat, man.
I'll be here next week.
Good stuff.
So on that note, guys, thank you very much for watching episode 25 of Tech Habit Weekly. We're a quarter of the way to 100 now. It makes me feel kind of old. Regardless, gray hairs aside, thank you guys very much for watching. If I'm not mistaken, 1p4t.com just relaunched, and boy, does it look nice. Go ahead and tell me a little bit more about it, Dante.
1p4t.com basically is the, where there's Bob CPU Kid Roach and Roach Technology. There's Dante, Casey, Nightmare Harris, and Terrell Clark at 1p4t.com. Now, we've got all our different videos and things on there. There's going to be a lot of tech news on it. There's going to be original articles that are written by our staff, and it is going to be very, very nice. You can still find me here on Tech Habit Weekly with Bob, of course, and there's going to be a lot of different things on there. Well, I've got some Mac Pro videos that are be coming up, some tutorials, some case reviews and things like that. It's going to be very, very nice, and I think it's a place that all you guys should check out, like and subscribe to it as soon as you can. We even got some Vine applications and little like 6-second tech vines and things for you guys that are very, very well, and we're going to focus on bringing the highest quality to you guys as much as possible in the tech community. It's going to be great. And of course, Terrell, our producer, is going to be doing a lot of behind the scenes work on that as well, as far as he's going to be doing some editing and things as well with that. And of course, a lot of videos will be coming from myself. It's going to be very nice. So you guys need to check it out. Check it out today, bookmark it, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Vine, whatever. Find us, 1p4t.com. And that's it for episode 25 of Tech Habit Weekly. I've got 99 problems, but tech ain't one. And word to your motherboard.